Figured it'd be worthwhile to start with the review in the siman that we're doing, the summary of siman Beis Hamach Gimel, even though we're only up to Sif Yud Daled. And the reason is very simple. The majority of the siman deals with the actual halachos of lighting, but after Sif Yud Daled, it's kind of already, after Sif Yud Aleph, it's really a different subject matter about accepting Shabbos. So figured now would be a great time to summarize what we've been doing. Additionally, we had a interruption of Chanukah in between when we learned the halachas of Chanukah, and we didn't continue in Siman Reish Hamach Gimel. So it's been a couple months already since we started the Siman. So I figure now would be a very appropriate time to provide a summary. The Siman opens up. This is basically a table of contents of the Sifim in the summary. We don't need to go through the table of contents, but this is going to be the new style that we're going to always have. Table of contents, all of the subjects lined up in the beginning so we know what we're getting ourselves into. Feel free to pause, read it on your own time, whatever. That's why it's recorded for eternity. This is the table of contents. Sif Aleph opens up, and we have to figure out, we're learning the halachas over here of lighting on Shabbos. The next siman is going to deal with what do we light? Oil, candles. We'll come back to that. Yeah, obviously, preferably oil. We'll learn about which type, olive oil, okay, and why. But the question that we have to ask that is most fundamental is why do we light on Shabbos? What is the reason for this that we light? So the Gemara answers this question. The Gemara says Shalom Bayis, peace in the house. What does that mean? You light a few lights and now you got peace in the house? Rashi explains that the purpose of lighting on Shabbos is so that a person will not stumble, so that they won't fall because they can't see. Because once upon a time, there wasn't something called electricity. The only way for them to see was through candle or oil wick that was lit. The simple explanation is that this applies to spouses. If people are going to be tripping and unable to see, it's not going to be such a peaceful environment. There won't be so much harmony over there. There won't be so many roses. The Chasam Sofer, in his Chidushim on the Gemara in Shabbos, Chav Gimel Amud Beis, explains that this applies to people who learn by themselves, who live by themselves also, in order that they won't fall. So we see that there's a concept of shalom bayis, peace in the house, that could exist even with a bachelor, someone who's living individually, a widow, widower, etc., whatever it is, someone who's living by themselves. Because if they can't see, there's no tranquility. No coincidence why Chazal teaches that a summa, someone who's blind, difficult for a blind person. Chashav Kemes. Reason number 2 why we light candles, Oneg Shabbos. Now, when someone throws out the terminology of Oneg Shabbos, it typically means indulging in the physicalities of the day. That's what Oneg Shabbos means. However, it's taken a step different, treated a little differently over here, taking a step in a different direction over here. Medrash Tanchuma relates that those who go to Gehenna get judged in darkness. When you go to Gehenna, it's dark over there. Light is the opposite of darkness. It's the opposite of Gehenna. And it possesses an oneg. Possesses. Is that how you spell? Which one? That is a lot of S's in one word. Yeah, wow. Possesses 5 S's out of 9 letters. That's a good trivia question. What word in the English dictionary has 5 out of 9 of its letters the same exact letter? Possesses. Good trivia
Mississippi?
question. You don't see that often. Mississippi, I said out of 9 letters. 9 letters.
Oh,
Nice try, though. You almost got us.
This doesn't
Light
make
is the opposite of Ganem and possesses Oneg. It's Oneg.
24.
Shiboli Haleket says that people who eat in the dark mentally don't become satiated. Just take a step back over here. I want to debunk or divulge one of the ancient secrets of high-end and overpriced restaurants. The food's good, don't get me wrong. But one thing you'll notice about a fancy schmancy high-end restaurant is small portions and bad lighting. Why? Very simple. It's because of what we're learning. When you eat and it's dark, there's no light there, you're not going to get full. You're going to keep pounding away. The restaurant wants you to order more, more, more. After all, the portions are small and the prices are high. They benefit. Why do you think the waiter or the waitress that comes up to you says, "Would you like anything else?" Of course, would you like anything else? The tip's going to be more the more you get. Zog the shiboli haleke, people who eat in the dark mentally don't become satiated. We therefore light candles in order that we get pleasure when we eat. So this is, you'll say, wait a second, what does lighting have to do with oneg? It's not like I'm eating a nice piece of meat. Yes, it is. Because if you're eating in the dark, you're not going to get satiated. Osvahadar Mishnah Brew explains that according to this, the oneg of lighting Shabbos candles has to do, in fact, with eating and drinking. According to this explanation, understanding of what it means that it's oneg Shabbos, lighting. Reason 3 why we light kavod Shabbos. It's in honor of Shabbos. You know, let's go back to the fancy restaurants for a moment. There's something called ambiance. You walk into a restaurant. I remember we went in the summer, met some family members. We went to a fancy place in the city. I think it was called Reserve Cut or something. One of those high-end places. You walk in, my wife was looking at, she said, look at the design over here. Look at the moldings in the ceiling. It's a whole ambiance. So it's part of the show. It's part of the experience, the chavaya. Right? Turns out that the restaurant didn't even own the room, the building. They were renting it, but it was still a nice room nonetheless. Doesn't matter who owned it. Those are 3 reasons why we like. Comes along my great great grandfather and provides reason number 4. Reb Meshulam Feish goes Nachlas Fee. You can get Nachlas Fee at Teres Fee, HebrewBooks.org, totally free. Last name gross because there's multiple Nachlas Fees at Teres Fees. Nachlas Fee quotes Chezkuni, and this is why I'm going to label my Sefer Nachlas Moshe maybe once it comes out. By the way, I forgot to mention, I put all of the halachos that we learned together and that I typed up over all of the years that we've been doing. I put them all together, put them in one document. I approximated it was going to be 500 pages. If you add up all the pages, it was 484.
Pretty close.
How's that for an approximation?
Very good.
408. Look, it takes time. If you look at the bottom left of the corner for all the pages to load, because it's so many pages. Takes time. You see this thing? When it's a certain amount of pages, it takes time. It's going to stop 484. Bingo, 485. See? Not bad approximation, eh? And that's not including the Hebrew notes. But this is the real one. This is it. Because a lot of it's in Hebrew. That's what it is. This takes a very long time. This, I told you? You know,
How long?
this is all of the
Sure.
all of the parsha, all of the divrei Torah. Look, it's you can't even load the whole thing. It's too much. All of the Torah on the Yamim Tovim, on 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 the Yamim Tovim, the Haggadah, this thing just keeps going. 1,200 pages.
Wow.
1,200
A
pages.
lot of pages.
It's a lot of Torah Hakedaisha, fellas. Nachlas Moshe. There it is. Based on the Nachlas Tzvi, picking up my great grandfather's footsteps. No one did in the last 5 generations. Someone's got to do it. Put out some Svarim Hakedaishim. Torah Hakedaishim.
4 generations.
Hebrew also, but English I think is better for numerous reasons. More people understand it. Comes along my great great grandfather and his Nachlas Tzvi quotes the Chezkuni. By every day of creation, the Torah says, "Vayhi erev, vayhi boker, yom blank." There was night and day, and this is the day. Question arises, but the seventh day doesn't say that. Why not? Comes the Cheskuni, the seventh day possessed something that the preceding days didn't have. Light. Complete light. Every other day, Vahi Er, Vahi Boker. There was night, there was day. Shabbos. Seventh day was Kula Or. It was total night. Total day, excuse me. This isn't a Chassidish Pshat. This is the Cheskuni. This is actually coming from a Bereshis Rabbah. Bereshis says that there were actually 36 hours of light. 12 before Shabbos, 12 Shabbos night, 12 Shabbos day. So we see that Shabbos night wasn't dark at all. In fact, it was totally light. Based on this, explains the Nachla Esfi, we could explain why we light on Shabbos. It's in order to commemorate the first Shabbos of creation of the world when it was totally light. I always like adding in. This is where it comes from. On a regular night, people they tend to say to each other, "Good night." This perhaps could be a source why on Shabbos, nice idea perhaps. Not a halacha, but a nice idea why you don't say good night on Shabbos. You say good Shabbos. Shabbos morning, you don't say Boker Tov.
Say good Shabbos.
Say good Shabbos. Where does that come from? Perhaps this idea. There's no such thing as night on Shabbos. There's no such thing as day. Yeah, halachically, of course there is. You can only daven Marv until a certain time. You can only start Shachar at a certain time.
Physically.
Okay, fine. Very good. Very nice. Hashkafically, there's just Shabbos. There's no night. There's no morning. Torah said that we should be careful to have a ner yafa. A nice ner. Nice wicks, nice oils, nice candles. What does that mean? Oz Vahada Mishnah Brew explains this means you have good olive oil and good wicks. There's a lot of different types of wicks and oils that you could buy out there. You're gonna have good ones. Puna says, "Harogil bener havayin leibanim talmidei chachamim." Someone who's careful with the candle, with the nair, with the oil. You have children who are talmidei chachamim. Bach explains that even though lighting Shabbos candles is obligatory, lighting the wicks, the oil, nevertheless, beautifying the mitzvah by buying the best types of wicks and the like are not obligatory. Someone who does so will merit having sons as scholars. There's a lot of explanations, dozens and dozens of explanations. What exactly is the midah kineged midah over here? You have a measure for measure situation. You buy nice paraphernalia that you're going to use for Ner Shabbos. Therefore, you're going to have children who become scholars. What's the shaykhus? So, Rabbi Yerucham Olshin, in his Yareach L'Moadim on Chanukah, in the Jewish volume, provides many explanations to this. There's a lot going on. You look at the commentaries on the Gemara, a lot going on over here. Or is Einor El Torah. Light refers to Torah. Shnemar Laihudim Aisarda. Or Zu Simcha. Gemara Megillah says. And we say that every Moshe Shabbos. We repeat that line for not the Mavdil, the Shaiman. Everyone who's listening to Avdil repeats the line. Hudim Aisarda Simcha came to learn, right? It's an important line over there. So
Is it Torah?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But there's many deeper ideas over here. How much do we need to light? So this is probably the most famous halacha of all halachas of lighting on Shabbos candles. And the truth of the matter is very few learn these halachas properly. Because men say, yeah, it doesn't apply to me. And the women, they don't learn with the same depth that we're learning. So therefore, these halachas just get forgotten about, forsaked, literally. I was talking to certain people. They have rabbis. They don't know what's going on in the simon at all. They don't know. So this halacha is well known. People think it's an obligation. You the amount that you light corresponds to the children in the house. It's not true. People think you light two for the husband and wife. Not true. Torah says that you light two. One corresponds to Zachar, the other Shamar. Zachar refers to the positive mitzvahs of Shabbos, the mitzvahs aseh. Shamar refers to the negative mitzvahs of Shabbos, the mitzvahs lois aseh. And therefore, that's what the two neiros represent. When we light one, that has to do with the positive mitzvahs, and the other has to do with the negative mitzvahs. The Mogen Avram, big commentaries on Shulchan Aruch, as we know. He quotes the Shla, who says it's some of the custom to light 7 candles. It's nothing to do with the amount of children you have. It's just a custom to light 7.
There's a week of them.
Yeah, perhaps. Others say 10. Maybe 10 commandments, whatever.
Maser Mamoros.
Now, later on, it's related. Oh, comes the Aliyah Rabbah. Some say no. The two that you're lighting corresponds to the husband and wife. But the general idea that's brought down is not for that reason. If we take the gematria of Ner, a numerical value, you break it down. Resh is 200. Nun is 50. 50 and 200 is 250. You're lighting two. 250 plus 250 equals 500. Men we know from the Mishnah in Meseches Edius, if I'm not mistaken, and also based on the Gemara then the Makos, we have 248 limbs. Ramach Evarim, which actually there's a whole discussion as we learned 11 years ago in Hilchos Kriya Shema and Siman Samach Aleph corresponds to when we say Kel Melech Ne'eman when we're not with the minyan versus Hashem Lokechem Emes when we are with the minyan. The reason why we're saying those additional three is so that we get to the 248 because we discussed over there and we learned that every single word of Shema that we recite heals and helps each of our limbs. And that's why perhaps it could be different for a woman, that wouldn't apply to them saying Kel Melech Ne'eman. The custom seems that they do say it, but perhaps it doesn't apply because women have 252 limbs. And yes, this is a Mishnah that says this explicitly. So you can look into this more and you'll see exactly the breakdown of the limbs and how this number is calculated. 248 plus 252 equals 500. Which is equivalent to
2 neiros.
2 neiros, like we just said. That's why it's a custom to light 2. There's a custom when someone gets married that you walk down the aisle with 2 neiros. 2 neiros. Walk down the aisle. Question is who walks down? Some of the custom that with the chassan, both the father and father-in-law walks with him, and so that's the groom, and the bride, the kala, the mother and mother-in-law walks with her. Others have the custom with the chassan, with the groom, his father and mother walks with him, and with the kala, it's her mother and her father with the bride. There was once two parties that were planning to make a chasana together. They were planning a wedding, and they were arguing. My minhag for many generations was to do it this way. That's my custom. And now this back and forth. So they went to the rabbi and they said, "No, Paskin the Shiloh, what's the rabbi's minhag? What does he do at the wedding? Who walks down? Is it the father, mother, or is it the father and the mother, the father and the mother?" He said, "Look, I've already made a lot of weddings over here. My custom is to always do whatever the other side wants." That's how you start a marriage. Being Mavaser, you got to give in. The gematria of Puravu is what? Let's do it right now. We'll do a little math together.
36.
David, you cheated. You know it's 500 already. You cut to the chase. Let's get a calculator out. Let's get to work over here. Okay, here we go.
Vav and Urvu.
Let's get let's this is how I do it over here, yeah? Pay 80. Reish
200.
200.
6.
Vav 6. Okay. Then
Another 6. Urvu, or you don't count the Vav of Urvu.
let's count the Vav for now. 6. Then what?
Reish,
Reish is what?
100.
200, you mean?
200.
200. Base is what?
2. And you got your 6, and you got your 400.
And then you got the Vav at the end. Fellas, there it is. And I didn't just write the number 500 at the end because we already saw 4 gematras with 500. I'm showing my work. You go to your math teacher and you say, but I got the right answer. Where's your work? You got to show work. There's the work. Puravu is the gematria of Nair times 2. That's why there's a custom to go down with the 2 candles. And that's why, according to this Eliyah Rabbah, you like because it corresponds to the husband and wife. Husband 248 limbs, wife 252. 252, 248, 500. Bingo. Game over. That's the real bingo right there. What, Zachar and Nekeva? Zachar and Nekeva is 500? Yeah. Yeah. Now, comes along the Lakuti Maharich. Someone who increases the amount of candles that he's going to light will have children who are scholars. The custom therefore developed to add after each birth so that it will help merit these scholars. A lot of parents, every good parent wants the best for their kids. They want to make sure that medically everything's good. Financially, everything is good, and spiritually. Comes along the Chedushi Harim, and he says a lot of times parents in particular, they're concerned with, okay, I want my kid to have the best education, the best college, the best grad school. I want him to be successful. Says the Chidushi Harim, we know that a person's income is already predetermined from the beginning of the year. There's an overemphasis on the financial situation, on the secular education, and an underemphasis on the Torah education, on the Kodesh. Because the Gemara says, Hakol bidei shamayim chutz miyur shamayim. The income, the money that a person is going to have, it's already decided in heaven. Shem already figured it out. Says the Chidushi Harim, however, the opposite is not true. Whether a person is going to remain faithful, remain religious. We have to start switching the order around. This world is topsy-turvy in many ways. Overemphasis on the secular education, underemphasis on the Torah education. Says the Lakutei Maharich, if you increase, there's a custom to increase the amount, because what is the mother davening for? What is she praying for when she lights? What's the whole idea about lighting? It's not to get a lot of money. It's to have children who are going to become Talmidei Chachamim, Torah scholars. That's the most important thing. That's where this custom developed from. Let us not forget this. All the women know this, Shaila. If you forget to light one once, you have to light an additional one the rest of your life. The Bach and the Ramah quote the Maharil. The Maharil says if a woman forgot to light on Shabbos once, the rest of her life she has to add another one. The rest of her life.
What's the latest that we poskin that a woman can light?
What's the latest? Before
Yeah,
sunset.
anytime before submitting.
Yeah.
So it's not. This isn't nothing to do with 18 minutes
Yeah. This is if she forgot and it was already too late. What's the
before
reason
shkia.
for this halacha? What?
Before shkia.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the reason for this halacha? Forgot once, the rest of her life? We're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of times. According to the Bach, the reason for this halacha is the rabbis simply don't want this to happen again. If you had a punishment of if a person was caught speeding more than 10 miles over the speeding limit, his license would be revoked for life and there would be a fine of $200,000. I guarantee you no one would speed. If you had a fine for speeding over 10 miles an hour, saying that you would be life in prison, I guarantee you no one would speed. When you have an intense, a very harsh punishment, that will calm down the transgression. In other words, the rabbis find her in order that she'll be careful not to mislighting again in the future. According to the Prima Godim, she has to add another one for the rest of her life, even if she only forgot one candle. She lit the rest of them, she just forgot one. Yep, we learned that. That's right. Oh, shkach. Is that the only time I did it? Okay, good. According to the reason of the Bach, this makes sense. We don't want her to be a repeat offender and forget the light. According to the Machasisa Shekel, she needs to add another candle as a kapara to atone for the candle that she forgot, or to make up the forgotten candle. So there's two different ideas why this is the halacha. Either we don't want it to happen again, or it's an atonement. Their halacha argues and holds that someone who forgot to light one candle does not need to light another candle. All right, now. There's a laundry list of exceptions over here that make this halacha irrelevant, and usually a lot of the rabbis know about this whenever a woman calls with the shaila. Here's a list of approximately 15 exceptions to this rule, all summarized in a concise and easy, readable order. Magen Avram says that if she didn't light because she had an extenuating circumstance, then she doesn't need to add another candle. So a lot of times, all the rabbis could slice and dice this up and come up with 500 leniencies. What exactly is an extenuating circumstance? What's a shas hadachak? Exception number 2, Eli Rabbah says someone who is poor could be lenient and add just a little extra oil or light a slightly bigger candle than before, instead of lighting a whole new one. Reason 3, a woman who forgot to light in her mother's house and a motherlet would not need to light another candle. This even applies if she would sleep in her own house later and was only eating by her parents. In other words, if you're eating in a location where someone else is lighting, you could rely on that leniency. Exception number 4, a woman who forgot to light candles on Yom Tov would not need to add another candle according to some other argues. So there's a whole discussion about if this applies only on Shabbos, exclusively only on Shabbos, or also Yom Tov. Exception number 5 to this, if a candle extinguished immediately after being lit in an unexpected manner, then one won't be obligated to light to add another candle. This ties into what we learned at the end of Sifyot about, and as well as some in Tafrei Shayin Hey in Hilchos Chanukah Halakha is a mitzvah. So this now we could understand this with a better understanding than before. Meaning before we learned those halachas in Sifyot and Tafrei Shayin Hey, we only learned Sif Aleph. Now we have a very good understanding of this. Someone who didn't light because she was sick does not need to add another candle. So you have an exception, sickness could happen. Exception number 7, excuse me, someone who didn't light because of an alarm clock failure doesn't need to another candle. Let's say she was tired. She said, I'm going to take a quick power nap, and the alarm clock malfunctioned due to a blackout, or she forgot to turn the ringer on. It's fine. She doesn't need to. Exception number 8, someone who didn't light because she was stuck in unexpected traffic doesn't need to add another candle. May I underline this word unexpected? If a person was just straight up negligent, which happens many times, and waited too long to leave to go to their destination, that's not unexpected. That is expected.
But
So
when
it's
you
got
say
to,
too long, I mean, like if you're dealing with nervous people, like I had that happen once. Like I'm saying, how do you know? How do you define too long? I mean, like it's very up to the person.
you have to, as we learned, too long. That's exactly why we learned Siman Reish Mem Test 249, and we discuss in depth over there of what too long is and about travel time before Shabbos, planes, trains, driving. We discussed it all exactly how much time needs to be left. So I would reference you to reference that. Also, it's great to have you, of
But
course. Great to have you today, guest of honor.
yeah,
But unexpected, we basically said you need, offhand, if I'm not mistaken, we said around an hour buffer time for general driving. That's what we
Depends where you're
said.
going.
It depends where you're going. We said it depends on different details. I think on planes, we discussed buffer time to get from the terminal to your location that you need to leave was a little bit more than an hour in that case. We learned that there were different opinions.
And if
You
you
got
if
to
you
be careful.
because of giving people like we're going to Baltimore, right? So you want to leave.
Yeah, going Baltimore, it depends how long the distance is. Are you going, right? Are you going on a 200-mile trip? You going from New York to Baltimore? Are you going from you know, the JFK area and the five towns to making something up. What's that place in New Jersey? Passaic, New Jersey. Right. So the buffer time for your Baltimore trip is going to need to be more than your Passaic. Are you just going from here to Queens? And are you traveling during rush hour or not? All of this is going to affect whether it's considered unexpected or expected traffic and how much buffer time you need to. So it's miles and it's rush hour and it's the location, right? It's the time of year. So all of those factors.
it's a complex.
Yes, that's why we learned some in tests.
I got it.
Exception number 9, someone whose candles fell after lighting doesn't need to add another candle, which is basically the same thing of the oil went out that we learned in depth. Also, back in Sif Yud and back in some in Tough Reish Ayin Hey, 675 in Halachos Chanukah, reference that for more details. Exception number 10, from the Prima Godim, it is implied that a man who forgot to light would not need to add another candle. Women need to fix the sin of Chava, which we'll learn about next session, Amir Hashem. Unlike men, Rav Chaim Kanievsky rules this way as well. This only applies to women, not men. Exception number 11, if she forgot the first Shabbos she was married, she doesn't need to add another candle. First married, exception. First Shabbos also, exception. Exception number 12, someone who isn't married and forgot wouldn't need to light another candle. That could happen. So that's another exception. Exception number 13, a woman who wasn't home for Shabbos and her husband forgot to light does not need to add another candle. This actually happened to me once or twice. Usually, if I ever need to light, I always do light. But I think once or twice I forgot. I'm just not used to lighting. I actually forgot. So in that case, it's fine. Exception number 14. Phew. Exception number 14. A woman who forgot to light actual candles but lit electric lights, but it had to have been in honor of Shabbos, like we saw. And it can't be LEDs, can't be fluorescent, it's got to be good old-fashioned incandescent. So in that case, after Plaga Mincha does not need to light another candle. Electric lights, I wanna add in incandescent. Yeah, it's got to be an incandescent situation. Exception number 15, someone who forgot to light but remembered after sunset and asked someone who isn't Jewish to light candles for does not need to add another candle. Exception number 15, David, I hope you're listening. This is exactly your question. If a woman forgot and it was after Shki, it was after sun, she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't light. She could tell someone who isn't Jewish, as long as it's before 3 stars come out, to light for her, and then she won't need to add another one. David, you there? You heard that?
Yes, I heard the whole thing. Yeah. No,
Good. That's for you.
I was talking about just about what if we just disregard 18 minutes, but that's interesting too. So you have a goy, you tell a goy you take a goy off the street and tell them to light.
Correct. The whole discussion, could she still make a bracha in that case? We'll have to learn about that more when we get to the review on Sif Hey.
Did you oh yeah, so you tell them you can just tell them you tell them straight out to light.
Yeah.
There was just this past Shabbos, there was at Shalashidis, these lights by the where's where's the Amud? They were knocked over, and it was a fire hazard because it was this oil lamp, and it was still going. So they had to get a goy off the street. So they took a goy off Coney Island Avenue, and he was drunk. They didn't know it, but he was drunk. And so it was like Charlotte's coming to, and you ask a goy. It's really, it was not.
Yeah. All
So
right, so we'll learn Amir Lahako more when we learn about that. All right, any questions on what we just learned today? Okay, Mitzvah Hashem tomorrow, same place, same time. Everyone should have a wonderful day. Bruchim Tiyah.
We should learn about how you're supposed to get around the snow on Shabbos without allowing to shovel.
Thank you.
I think
You walk.
Tzachei Rabbi, you're allowed to shovel, no?
Oh, you're saying shoveling?